I borrowed $127,000 to pay for grad school, and I have paid back almost half that amount in just 16 months. In this video, I'm gonna break down my strategy for paying off debt, the progress that I've made, and answer the big question, which is what will I be doing different moving forward? Let's first start by taking a look at where my loans were and where they are now. I took out 5 different loans to pay for school, so going through each one. Loan 1 had an original balance of $21,133. Current balance is $19,272. Loan 2 started with $21,541, and the current balance is $19,487. Loan 3 started with a balance of $32,321, and the current balance is $26,571. Loan 4 started with $31,517 and now has a balance of 0 because I paid it all off. Loan 5 started with a balance of $21,062, and the current balance is $14,480.95. So the original amount that I had to pay off was $127,574, and currently I owe $79,991. Now for some context, I borrowed money from the government just to pay for my tuition. I worked through grad school to pay my cost of living. I was in a hybrid program and had a little bit of flexibility on when I did my classes, which allowed me the flexibility to work during school. It was long days. I was a nanny, and so it was definitely emotionally exhausting as well as physically exhausting. And it's also technically not recommended by the program that I was in. I also borrowed money between 2021 and 2024. So I was at the tail end of the pauses on student loan interest during COVID. So my loans were only accruing interest for about 9 months while I was in school, and this was an extreme blessing. My plan with some of the money that I made while I was working through school was to pay the interest down so that I wasn't graduating with tens of thousands of dollars in interest in addition to my balance. Ultimately, I graduated with about $10,000 in savings, and I decided to use this money as an emergency fund and just start paying my debt off from my income because I got a job relatively quickly out of school. I really value financial security both in present day and in the future. So having a fund I could go to in the event of a true emergency to prevent going into more debt was really important to me. I would have been saving for this fund alongside paying off my debt, or I just called it funded and put more money towards my debt. It was kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. When it comes to financial security, part of the reason that I want to pay my debt off is so that I can lower my fixed monthly expenses, which reduces how much money I have to bring in every single month. It's also why I'm investing alongside my debt payoff, because I care about my own security in the future. Other people might value optimization over financial security, and that's fine. If you're torn between this, do I pay my debt off aggressively or do I invest aggressively battle, and you see all the discourse about it online or maybe among your friend group, what's important is realizing what do you actually care about and understanding how the numbers really apply to that. So as we walk through my strategy, I'll kind of explain my mindset. If you're in the boat of valuing optimization over security, then paying off debt like mine would be relatively silly because mine is relatively low interest. My debt is all 6% or less. So it's more than likely that every single dollar I invested in the market would earn more than what I save by paying off my debt. Paying off my debt as aggressively as I am is a very conscious choice to lose money in the long run. But I'm making that choice to have financial security sooner, which is more important to me. But to be clear, I have found a balance with this, and we'll talk about that balance. So now that you know why I'm paying off my loans, here's how I approach them. And honestly, this strategy has made the biggest difference in helping me actually see progress and really start achieving this financial goal. When I first started, I had multiple loans with different balances, different interest rates, and I knew before I started that I would want to pay them off. Once I had all of the information and understood what I owed on each loan, I wrote them down and wrote down each of their interests. Because not all debt is created equally. I didn't want to just throw money blindly at my loans. I'm using what's called the debt avalanche method to pay off my debt. Basically what this means is that I'm focusing on the higher interest rate loans first. And while I'm focusing on these loans, I'm still making the minimum payments on my other loans so I don't fall behind on them. For me, my minimum payments are set to pay off my loans in 10 years, so they do tackle a little bit of the principal, but as you saw earlier when I was going through the balances, it's not a lot. The reason I'm doing this is because the highest interest debt costs me the most to hold on to. It grows the fastest because the interest per dollar is higher. So every extra dollar that I put towards those loans will bring down the total amount that I pay towards my debt over time. And I never said I was completely against optimizing my money, just that it wasn't my number one priority. So the avalanche method tends to be a little bit slower, but allows you to pay less total dollars because you pay the least amount in interest compared to other methods of paying off debt. This means that I'll free up more of my own money to invest because I still do care about that. So far, I've completely paid off the balance of one of my loans, and rather than saying, great, I have a $300 a month minimum payment I don't have to make anymore, I'm gonna spend that on me, I kept the momentum going. I took that same minimum monthly payment and just rolled it into my next target towards the principal. This is where the avalanche part of the method comes into play because your progress is slow and steady. But by the time you reach the last loan, you're able to put an insane amount of money money towards that loan, and most of it then is going to principal. So instead of starting with the smallest balance, I started with the most expensive one. And every time I knock a loan out, my payment for that loan will just go to the principal on the next loan. So the amount of money that's going to paying down the actual balance of the loan will grow, even though my budget doesn't change at all. One extra thing that I've done that's really helpful is that anytime I have extra money from overtime, gifts, side hustles, or just a lower spending month, I make extra principal payments to the debt that I'm focused on tackling. This is in addition to the extra payment that I'm already making on top of my minimum payment every single month. What I've seen is that every small extra little bit helps. And this is because it's going straight to the balance. So that ultimately cuts down the amount of interest that I'm paying over time. I also have been tracking my progress month by month. If you've been following my channel, then you've seen that progress. This has kept me super motivated, and hearing from you guys also keeps me really motivated too. The progress has felt slow at times and really fast at other times, but seeing the balance drop and being really in tune with that has been extremely encouraging. So that is my student loan payoff strategy in a nutshell. Focus on the most expensive debt first, stay consistent, and use every extra dollar that you can to build momentum. It's not flashy, but it works. And it is working because I am down $50,000 in 16 months. Now, an important thing to note is that I certainly do not put every single dollar I make towards debt. I make sure that I set aside money to play, cover my expenses, save, and live a relatively full life. But I do spend well within my means because I really do value paying this debt off. It's important to me. So I'm putting a large chunk of my discretionary income towards it. So let's talk through how I decided what I would pay. When I first started paying off my student loans, I had $127,000 with an average interest rate of about 6%. Every month, I bring home roughly $4,000 after taxes and deductions. And my expenses are pretty low at around $1,200 per month, which means in theory, I could put about $2,800 of my own money towards my debt. So let's do the math. If I took that full $2,800 and starting last June when I started paying off my debt, threw it entirely at my debt with a 6% interest rate, I'd be debt-free in about 4 years and 4 months, which means I would pay roughly $17,000 in interest. But I'm not doing that. I'm putting $2,000 a month towards my loans, and then the other roughly $800 goes into investments, my Roth IRA and my 401k. I came to this $800 number because it's how much I needed to max out my Roth IRA every year and reach my employer match for my 401k and get that free money. So that choice stretches my payoff timeline to about 5 years and 8 months. And I'll pay around $23,000 in interest total. So yes, I will pay for about a year and a half longer. And I'll pay roughly $6,000 more by splitting my focus. But here's why I'm okay with that. While my debt is shrinking, my investments are growing and working for me. If we assume a 7% interest on that $800 a month over 5 years and 8 months, I'll have roughly $63,000 in investments. And realistically, 7% is pretty conservative. If I were to not invest and start investing as soon as I paid off my debt, to catch up to this amount, I would have to invest over $3,500 every single month to reach $63,000 invested at the same time. And technically, the investment calculation I did doesn't include my employer match, so I'll have significantly more than $63,000 invested. So instead of being completely debt-free but starting from zero, I'll be debt-free and have tens of thousands of dollars working for me, and that money will continue to compound over my lifetime. Like I said, I do value financial security over optimizing every single dollar, but that's within reason. I won't sacrifice years of growth and compounding over 14 months of paying off my debt. The same way that I won't sacrifice living my life to pay off my debt, because debt payoff is just one part of the picture. And I think focusing on the context is really important. So now that we understand the background, what will I be doing differently moving forward? I hope you don't feel clickbaity or anything, but the honest answer is that I set this plan from a place of intention as well as from a really well-educated background on debt payoff. I did a ton of research and it's working exactly how I want it to work, so I don't think I'll be changing anything moving forward. But yes, the process is slow. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme by any means, but it's almost guaranteed to work. And it'll keep me rich, which I much prefer. It's okay to be flexible with your debt. I have made adjustments to my plan, especially as I've learned more and kind of figured it out. The first 6 months, I did not invest. Part of this was because I was working a PRN job, which means I didn't have any benefits or guaranteed hours. So having financial security and using extra money that I had at the time to pay down the debt was more important to me than investing at that time. But when I did get a full-time job with benefits and a lot more certainty, I was able to shift my focus. Context, your values, and your goals are all important. Your money doesn't live in a vacuum. It's a tool that helps facilitate your life. Ultimately, the way to reach your financial goals is to set a plan and stay the course. And that's what my whole channel is about. It's about setting the plan and sticking to it. I obviously don't know how the rest of this debt payoff is gonna go. I'm hoping that I can make it go faster with income from side hustles and a little bit of diligence. But ultimately, I know that I'll get it done in a maximum of 5 years and 8 months. And I'll share the whole thing with you along the way. So stick around to enjoy the ride, subscribe, like this video, comment, it all really supports my channel.